All right, today we're going to dive into a really fascinating piece of forgotten technology. I mean, this thing was a true flash in the pan right from the dawn of recorded sound. So let's get into it. This is the story of the AA Graphophone.
So here it is. This is our subject. It's a pretty handsome-looking talking machine, right? It was put out by Columbia, which, was one of the absolute giants of the industry back then. But here's the crazy part. It was only in their catalog for 2 years. 2 years! And then poof, it just vanished, leaving behind this sort of ghost-like existence.
When you look at it from a technology standpoint, the story of this machine is, well, it's almost tragic. It was designed on borrowed time from the very beginning. It's like this beautiful but ultimately dead end.
So let's dig in. We're going to investigate exactly why this machine became what some collectors now call a phonographic ghost. I mean, how does something just show up one moment and completely disappear the next?
Okay, so the Type AA first showed up in July of 1901. And look, it had some genuinely innovative features. It really did. But the problem was it was immediately overshadowed by these seismic shifts happening across the entire industry. It's the classic case of arriving at the party just as everyone else is leaving.
And that right there, that's the central mystery we're trying to unpack. I mean, think about it. It looked great. It had brand new features. It was made by a huge, reputable company. So what could have possibly gone so wrong so quickly?
Okay, so to really get why it failed, we first have to understand why it should have succeeded. We need to appreciate the promise it held. So let's take a look at what made the AA Graphophone so special when it first hit the scene.
So a lot of the cheaper models back then had all their guts, the mechanics just exposed for everyone to see. But the AA? No way. Its spring motor was tucked away neatly inside this really elegant oak cabinet. This self-contained design was a huge deal. It made it look less like a machine and more like a nice piece of furniture, which was a major aesthetic upgrade at the time.
But this thing wasn't just a prettier box. Oh no, it had some real functional improvements going for it. For one, it used a proper crank to wind the motor, not just some dinky little key. And on top of that, it featured a totally brand new mechanism. And this drop frame was its main technical advance. It was actually pretty brilliant, so here's how it worked. You'd raise this little carriage sidebar, and the reproducer, that's the part with the needle, the stylus, would automatically drop down to become horizontal. Now why does that matter? Well, it allowed more weight to press down on the stylus, which meant it tracked the grooves in the wax cylinder way better, and get this, it even boosted the volume. It was a genuinely clever piece of engineering.
So let's talk price. Back in 1901, the AA cost $18. Now that put it right in the sweet spot. You had the basic Eagle model for $12 and then the more powerful AT model for $25. So for just $6 more than the entry-level machine, you got that gorgeous enclosed cabinet and the cool new drop frame mechanism. I mean, it really seemed like a fantastic deal, a great value.
Which, of course, brings us right back to our big question. It's well-designed, it's cleverly engineered, it's priced just right. So what on earth happened? What could possibly go so wrong that this thing just vanishes in a couple of years?
Well, it turns out the answer wasn't a problem with the machine at all. The problem was everything happening outside the machine. The entire world of recorded sound was, at that very moment, going through a massive, game-changing transformation.
The future, it turned out, was flat. You see, the AA Graphophone was built for one thing, to play wax cylinders. But the entire industry, and this includes its own parent company, Columbia, was betting the farm on a completely different format, the flat disc record.
And when you look at the two, it's easy to see why. Cylinders were super fragile, and you couldn't get much music on them. Discs, on the other hand, which were being pushed by competitors like Victor, were way more durable, you could mass-produce them like crazy, and they played for longer. It was a no-brainer. The cylinder was yesterday's news, and the disc was clearly the future.
And this is the real kicker, the ultimate irony of the whole story. At the exact same time the cylinder-playing AA was hitting showroom floors in mid-1901, the engineers and marketers at its own company, Columbia, were working like mad to launch their brand new line of disc players. Think about that. They were basically competing with themselves, and you better believe they knew which horse to back in that race.
So, with its own company already moving on to the next big thing, the fate of the Type AA was pretty much sealed. Let's take a look at just how fast the end came.
Yeah, this timeline is just brutal. It shows up in July 1901. Less than a year later, in 1902, they're already slashing the price just to try and compete.
And by 1903, that's it. Gone from the catalog for good. Just 2 years from start to finish.
It's estimated that they only ever made about 13,000 of these things. Now, in the world of mass-market talking machines, that's practically nothing. It's a tiny number, and it absolutely confirms this thing was a commercial failure. So, in the end, despite that clever design and its handsome looks, the Graphophone just made no real impact. It left no legacy. It didn't influence any later designs. It didn't change the course of audio history. It was, for all intents and purposes, just a footnote.
But hey, even a footnote can tell a fascinating story, right? So what's the takeaway here? What can we learn from this charming wraith of a machine, looking back all these years later?
Well, here's another twist for you. Today, the very fact that it was a failure is exactly what makes it so interesting. Because they made so few of them, the AA is now a super rare and sought-after item for antique phonograph collectors. Its obscurity, its failure, has become its greatest source of value.
And really, this whole thing is a timeless lesson, isn't it? The story of the A is like a perfect little case study in technological disruption. It just goes to show that you can have a good, well-made product, but it can still fail completely if you're on the wrong side of a huge innovation wave. When it comes down to it, timing really is everything.
Which leaves us with one final, kind of spooky thought. This machine was a great answer to a question nobody was asking anymore. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What well-designed, innovative products out there on the market today, maybe even something you just bought, are already technological ghosts, doomed by a future that's already here?